Hi everyone, welcome to my latest sketchbook tour. This is a Moleskine extra large plain classic. It's got cream pages, which I find really pulls out the blacks very well, and the texture of the paper really adapts well with the Pentel brush pen. As you can see, I started this sketchbook way back in 2021, February. This is one of two that I've completed since then. So starting off this sketchbook with some concepts of my designer toy, which I called Crash. It's a shark human character. So this was the base figure, really buff shark, and my idea was to be able to apply all kinds of concepts on him, have different costumes and gear. So for this one, first application, I tried some very oriental designs with prayer beads and Japanese Yakuza tattoos with Chinese costume. So there's some sketches I did on a receipt. Freestyle illustrations, breaking in my new pens, which I'm using the Pentel brush pen, black. These are refillable, and for Singapore you can get them at this place called Art Friend or Kinetiquettes bookstore. So I did this whole illustration with this one brush. You can actually, the thing about this brush pen is you can control the thickness fairly easily. Takes some practice, but after a while you get the hang of it. So you can go really thick, or you can go middle, and then you can really fine hair-like textures. So when I'm freestyling, whatever comes to mind, I'll have a rough image in my mind's eye and just try to fill up the page. Here I have some concepts for a t-shirt line. Wanted it to be very samurai-centric. Purely brush pens. Usually when I'm doing my concepting, I just use broad strokes with a brush pen. I might use a water-soluble color pencil for the base, just to have a rough gauge of the space that I'm allowed. But generally, I'll just use the brush pen to ink out my concepts. So just a couple of more designs and layouts. Most of these I have an underlying pencil sketch just to give me a rough guide to my composition. It's really light. I don't bother much with the details, but more of proportions, composition, and layout. You see, so it's like once I've decided what I have, then I'll go in and fill it up with the brush pen. This was a Spawn fan art that I did. I think it's at a point when McFarlane was releasing a whole line of Spawn figures, and I was just really inspired by his toys and action figures, so I just wanted to do a tribute piece. Sometimes I like to experiment with some artists that inspire me. For this, it's like a tribute to Jorge Zafino. So I was going through some of his illustrations, and I just really loved the way he did his inks and the hatching and the strokes. This was immediately after, I believe, Justice League just came out on HBO or something. It was on its way out, and I was really inspired to do something. Having just done the Spawn, I thought I want to follow through with a dark side with the same inking techniques. So for the dark tones, I used my brush pens for the initial large shapes, and then for a middle strokes, I'd use this, I believe it's also a Pentel felt tip. It's called a brush signed pen, but it's pretty hard nipped, so it's more like a felt pen. And then this fine felt tip pen, 0.5. I don't go too thin on my detail strokes. Yep, just 0.5 is good enough. Some live drawing sessions. If anything, they help you fill up your sketchbooks really fast. So this was the initial 20-minute warm-up. There's been a gap since the last time I went for a live sketch session, so my comfort tool would be using a color pencil, and like I said, these water-soluble color pencils go very well with this particular Moleskine paper texture. Some very quick 2 to 5 minute sketches. Five-minute exercises. The challenge is to not to be able to get the anatomy and the perspective correct, even though you're looking at this from one angle. At the end of the day, when you tilt it, it'd be good if it was still in proportion. 5 minutes, and then we moved on to a 10-minute practice. So I tend to vary my techniques when I go for live sketches. Maybe kind of bored with using color pencils, then I'll bring out my brushes to try it. Um, 15-minute using both color pencils and brush pen inks. A felt tip, clean line, and then using the brush pen for broad strokes. This is my Monkey King illustration for each book. I realized that I always have one Monkey King illustration in all my sketchbooks. Somehow it's just been a thing. And also the Monkey King is just one of those things that because I'm going into 3D sculpting and manufacturing, so I've been playing with manufacturing a Monkey King statue or action figure. So I've been just designing my own character based on the Monkey King. Concepts or a little roughs for I think this was a Mandarin Spawn commission that I had. Venom design for fan art piece. I can't remember whether I finished it. I think I did. And also as a sculpting 3D sculpting exercise, I think this was the initial concept rough that I wanted to produce. 1-minute pose. Recently I've been trying to simplify my strokes to be able to really capture the essence of an illustration with as few strokes as possible. Hopefully that my anatomy knowledge and skills have reached that level. I'm hoping. One-minute challenges. Two minutes. Five minutes. See, when you use the color pencils, the strokes are really fluid, so I really enjoyed it. 10 minutes. And then breaking out the brush pens again. Simple lines. More concepts and freestyle. I have a rough vision or image in my head, and then I just try to visualize it, and most importantly making sure that anatomy principles are kept. So you can see my go-to thing is always a fantasy. Just love drawing maidens and fantasy costumes and weapons. This is a freestyle jam. This is what I do normally when I head to the cafe on the weekend. Friday nights, having a drink at the local pub with the wife, and the kids will be drawing their stuff, or scrolling through their phones, or we'd all be sketching. I just do a whole page of headshots and just try to see if I can remember everything from what I've seen, try to capture and try to improve on my illustration and inking techniques. So all these are freestyle with no reference. Yeah, really enjoy drawing zombies. Another live drawing session. Another cafe drawing. So with my daughter, we were trying out this new cafe, very nice Japanese cafe in town. Really chill and laid back. So yeah, let's just try to fill up my sketchbook. Practice, practice, practice. Hand exercises. This were with reference, but so normally I just draw my own hands, just keep practicing. Hopefully soon I can actually I can actually draw them without any reference at all. Another receipt illustration. This was for a coffee bean. Yep, why waste the paper? So I thought cool just to leave it inside. Yep, more jams. wanted to get some ideas, drawing insects, creating my own, was into designing some toys, and I wanted some very unique shapes, so I spent a whole day just sketching microscopic insects, skin mites. Unfinished illustration. Yeah, this tends to happen when I really like it, but I don't know where I'm gonna go with it. Yep. Another jam session after dinner at another cafe. I think I just bought my McFarlane Superman figure, so yeah, just wanted to do some fan art, and it fills out the page rather quickly. Just that I think I didn't want to have the whole page blank, so I thought I'd use my red color pencils to fill up the space. More on my shark character. Yeah, just thought I'd go back to it. So anyway, just to fast track, this is how the final figure actually looks like. I actually went on to sculpt it in ZBrush. I made 20 pieces of this and then hand painted them and fixed them. So this is what I meant, to have the skulls in each one of them. So I might have different colorways, you know, maybe the next 20 will have a different color shark. Or if I wanted to, I might just, you know, resculpt and add stuff to him, like in the first illustration. You know, I might do one where he's wearing the prayer beads, and maybe I even scan in some tattoos and all that, or sculpt in this samurai Chinese warrior getup. So more figure drawings, live drawing sessions. And this was a concept art for a friend, and also another piece I was working on with ZBrush. I wanted to sculpt this tiger character based off my friend's concepts. Some more rough concepting. Could have SWAT team, samurai, warrior, nomad, ronin, stuff like that. So there was a point that I thought I could make him articulated like an action figure, but that proved too expensive. So yep, just thought just the basic figure first. Sci-fi concepting. Just going through Instagram and seeing how amazing all these 3D artists were, and I thought, hey, maybe I'll give it a try. Anatomy illustration. This was some concepts for my second figure. I wanted to keep the same shape, you know, with a character and then a big little tummy here. So I wanted this to be the signature for my figures, and so this one was like a semi-alien Geiger inspiration. Yep, just playing with some ideas. I wanted to have like a translucent or plastic belly so they can actually see little maggots inside, you know, maybe offspring and babies. And this was another piece I was working on in ZBrush, a concept for a Venom that I wanted to sculpt. I saw some Dan Mora Venom Hulk designs online, and I thought they were really amazing. I loved how he did his head design, and I wanted to try it out. So apply it to my Venom illustration and then sculpt, and then finally I had it 3D printed and painted. So this is how it looks like. I'm really happy with this, and I've been stalling, but I intend to finish the full body sculpts and eventually print the whole thing. So yep, I modeled this in ZBrush and sculpt and 3D printed it and airbrushed it. As you can see, I suck on the hand painting. Should have used stencils and sprayed them, but I was, it's just a Saturday afternoon hobby thing, weekend project, and I'm just glad I finished it. I have a second piece which I intend to do a better job, have everything nicely stenciled and sprayed so it looked like a finished product. But yeah, I really love how the head shape went. More concepts following my shark line of designer toys. This one is inspired by the creature from the Black Lagoon, but yeah, it just didn't work. Maybe this one, but this I wasn't very happy. Alien with a sphincter mouth. Asshole face. This was also done in a cafe, as I tend to. My sketchbooks are like my visual diary, so I tend to, put down where I actually drew some of this stuff. Ryu, Streetfighter concepts, illustrations, fan art. Pencil drawings. I was trying to catch the typical Korean face, but as you can see, I'm not very into. My style doesn't reflect too much manga or anime in it. So yeah, I'm still trying to capture the whole Korean model face, with the half closed eyes and puckered lips. Just watched Dune and just did a quick sketch of Zendaya as Chani. Some roughs for my Chun-Li fan art. Some inking exercises. At this point, I was just using this mid-range felt tip pen, just doing some concepting, just sketching it in the IKEA. Another live session. I love experimenting with different techniques. So in one session I actually have so variety of different styles I try off. This really Dave McKean-ish. And then brush strokes and color pencils. Simple lines. Initial concepts for my Attack on Titan fan art. So at this point my brush pen was giving me some problems. This is actually a newer brush pen, but I think the one that I had before started having some engine trouble. Started to jam up and the flow of the ink wasn't very smooth. It wasn't like I ran out of ink, but you know, still full cartridge, but the ink just wasn't getting through to the brush, so it tended to be really dry, very difficult to ink, but I just forced my way through. So this was using a second brush pen with a blue cartridge. My take on that 80s TV series, Greatest American Hero, more studies of Aaron Titan for my fan art piece. Brush pen practices, understanding light and shadow, more head sculpt studies. More tech studies, back to brush pens. Yeah, just watched Squid Game at this point. So this was in June of 2021, Squid Game. More ink practices. And yep, this was studies I was doing for my Monkey King. So just spent a whole afternoon sketching macaques. At the end of the book I was just thinking of doing some fan art pin-up style thingy with felt tips and Copic markers, gray markers. So with this paper, as you can see, when you use Copics, they tend to bleed through, but only when it's Copics. For the Pentel brush pens and the felt tip pens, they are pretty okay. They don't tend to bleed through. Hero figure store studies. Just trying to get my hero anatomy correct. Okay, I'll end at this point because the remaining pages are stuff that I cannot share. Thanks for watching and I hope it helped. I'm sorry if it's so laid back and you aren't gonna fall asleep, but that's just how I talk. I hope you'll look forward to my next sketchbook coming soon. Thanks for watching, guys.